The house was a steal, an old Victorian place on a sprawling plot of land, completely isolated. The realtor had been almost too eager to get it off her hands. There was just one catch, she'd said, a little nervously. The massive weeping willow in the backyard. The previous owners had been ... particular about it. Don't touch it, she'd warned. Just leave it be. Laughed it off. It was just a tree, after all. A beautiful, ancient thing with long, sweeping branches that kissed the ground. It gave the property a certain Gothic charm. For the first few weeks, everything was perfect. I spent my days renovating, painting, bringing the old house back to life. But as the sun went down, an unease would settle over me. It started subtly, a flicker of movement at the edge of my vision as I washed dishes, looking out the kitchen window at the willow. I'd turn, and there'd be nothing but the gentle sway of its branches in the evening breeze. Then came the sounds. At night, I'd lie in bed and hear a soft, rustling sound from outside, like 1,000 whispers just beyond the glass. It wasn't the wind. The air would be dead still, yet the rustling persisted. It sounded like secrets being passed between the leaves, secrets I wasn't meant to hear. Sometimes, a single, sharp tap would echo against my bedroom window, the one facing the willow. I'd jump out of bed, heart hammering, but there was never anything there. Just the long, thin branches, like skeletal fingers, hanging motionless in the moonlight. One evening, I was working late in my study. The house was silent, except for the hum of my laptop. I felt a sudden, intense chill, the kind that makes the hair on your arms stand up, The feeling of being watched was overwhelming. I looked up, and my eyes were drawn to the window. In the deep twilight, the willow tree's silhouette was darker than the sky around it, and I saw it. For just a second, a shape detached itself from the trunk. A tall, slender figure, impossibly thin, made of the same gnarled bark and drooping leaves. It took one slow, deliberate step towards the house before melting back into the tree, as if it had never been there. I slammed my laptop shut, my breath caught in my throat. I told myself it was a trick of the light, my mind playing games on me after a long day. But the fear was real, a cold knot in my stomach. I started avoiding the back of the house after dark. I drew the curtains tight and tried to ignore the scratching and tapping that had become a nightly occurrence. My dog, Buster, started acting strangely. He'd been my brave companion for years, but now he refused to go into the backyard. He'd stand at the back door, a low growl rumbling in his chest, his eyes fixed on the willow tree. One afternoon, I forced him out, needing to mow the lawn. He stayed glued to my side, whimpering, until a sudden gust of wind sent the willow's branches whipping through the air. One of them, impossibly long, snaked out and brushed against his back. Buster yelped as if struck and bolted, scratching frantically at the front door to be let back in. He spent the rest of the day hiding under my bed, shivering. That night, the whispering was louder than ever. It wasn't just rustling anymore. It was coherent, almost. A sibilant chorus of voices, overlapping, murmuring, just on the edge of understanding. I buried my head under the pillows, but I couldn't block it out. The tapping on the window became more insistent, a frantic, rhythmic drumming. Tap, tap, tap. It sounded like someone desperate to get in. My curiosity, or maybe my sanity, finally snapped. I had to know what was going on. The next morning, armed with a heavy-duty pair of garden shears, I marched into the backyard. Buster whined from the doorway, but didn't follow. The air around the willow was cold, unnaturally so. The leaves hung perfectly still. "It's just a tree," I repeated to myself, my voice trembling slightly. I reached out and grabbed one of the long, trailing branches. It felt wrong. Not like wood, but like cold, dry skin. I took a deep breath and snipped it with the shears. The moment the branch fell to the ground, a sound ripped through the air. It wasn't a crack of wood, but a high-pitched, human-like shriek that seemed to come from the tree itself. The entire willow trembled violently, its branches lashing out like whips. I stumbled back, dropping the shears, my heart trying to beat its way out of my chest. The shriek echoed in my ears as I scrambled back inside, slamming and locking the door. I looked at the severed branch on the grass. A thick, dark red sap, like blood, was oozing from the cut end, staining the green lawn. The branch itself began to wither and curl, turning black and brittle before my eyes, crumbling into dust within minutes. That night was the worst. The house was no longer a sanctuary. The whispers were inside now, coming from the walls, the floorboards, the very air around me. They called my name, a soft, alluring chorus that promised. What? I didn't want to know. The tapping on my window was replaced by a hard, rhythmic pounding, as if a fist was trying to break through the glass. And through a gap in the curtains, I could see it. The figure. It was standing right outside my window, no longer hiding in the shadows of the trunk. It was tall and gaunt, its limbs long and twisted like branches. Its face was a featureless mask of bark, but I could feel its gaze on me, full of ancient malice. Its fingers, long, twig-like appendages, were the ones pounding against the glass. It wanted in. It was hungry. I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner of my room, a kitchen knife clutched in my hand, listening to the house groan and the whispers slither around me. When dawn finally broke, the pounding stopped. The whispers faded. I peeked outside. The willow stood serene and beautiful, as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. I saw the deep grooves in the window frame, the splintered wood where its fingers had been. I couldn't stay. I packed a single bag, grabbed Buster, and ran. I didn't look back. I drove 4 hours, not stopping until the sun was high in the sky and the memory of that tree was miles behind me. I abandoned the house, the renovations, everything. A few months later, I saw the listing online again. Charming, Victorian, motivated seller. The pictures showed the beautiful old house, the sprawling lawn, and in the center of it all, the magnificent weeping willow, its branches hanging low, waiting. The description failed to mention the one crucial rule. A rule I learned the hard way. Don't touch the tree. Because it's not just a tree, it's a prison, okay? And it's always looking for a new keeper, okay? If you get too close, if you listen to its whispers, it might just make you stay forever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next descent into the darkness.